I'm here because I've been a human rights activist for a long time, and when I found compelling evidence that Scientology was actually locking people up and holding them against their will, I felt that it was something that I could speak out about. And when I heard that there were people picketing in San Francisco, I felt that was an activity that I could use to educate the public about any of these websites. And you can go to Scientology's own website right there and find out what they have to say. The RPF is the Rehabilitation Projects Force, which is basically Scientology's gulag. It's where dissidents are sent, or people who aren't producing enough are sent, supposedly to reform and rehabilitate and work themselves back, get themselves back into condition to be good Scientologists again. But basically what it is where they send people who are dissidents. Jesse Prince was sent there, Stacey Young and Vaughn Young were sent there. Stacey Young was there for 8 months. I picketed with her, and it was very moving for me when she mentioned to somebody who had stopped to talk to us that she had been held captive for 8 months.
Now, when you say people are sent there, I mean, do people literally go to their house?
Yes.
Pick them up?
Yes, you can hear Stacey Young talk about that on one of the television shows. She says that, I believe 4 in the morning, people came to their house, knocked on the door, and took Stacey away. And one of the things I'm sure that ultimately destroyed her marriage with Vaughn is that she said on TV, I felt like my husband should have stopped this. I felt like he should have protected me. And to me, one of the things that's most insidious about Scientology is it plays on our desire to help one another and ultimately destroys our ability to care for one another beyond Scientology. Scientology comes first because it's seen as saving the planet.
You guys can go take your shit and go somewhere else.
Where would that be?
You can go. I've been a member of this church for 20 years, and it does nothing but good for people.
It does nothing.
And you can take
never done anything bad.
your freaking signs.
What about what
and go somewhere
Scientology
else
did to
with
Paulette
them.
Cooper? What about what Scientology did to Lisa McPherson?
You know what?
What
I think
about
locking
good
up
for
Dorothy
people?
Geary?
you should go
Scientology
talk to
does
the
not
ethics
lock
officer and tell him you're talking to SPs.
I know all about SPs.
Do you?
I know who you guys are, and I know what you do.
I understand
Who
what
are
you
they?
know about SPs.
How come Scientology can't find my crime?
Maybe because you're not responsible enough to be able to look at your own crimes yourself.
Sounds like you're having trouble confronting Scientology's crimes. Did you know Scientology, the corporation, was charged with felonies in the state of Florida and the death penalty?
You guys better find something productive to do with your time.
I was in for like a month. I never considered myself a Scientologist. I had one auditing session, which I didn't think went that well, and so when I wrote my success story, it was pretty lukewarm. I read Dianetics cover to cover, and I actually, unfortunately, believed it. But I ultimately decided it wasn't for me because I read the ethics formula that requires, under certain circumstances, that you deliver an effective blow against an enemy of the group, and that went against my personal morals, so I chose not to get involved at that time. That was over 10 years ago. When I started picketing last April, I did so under a pseudonym. I called myself Jour. Just because I wanted to postpone whatever retaliation was going to happen. It took them about 2.5 months for them to let me know that they knew who I was, and it took them another month and a half, 2 months for them to start picketing my home.
Have you talked to your neighbors about the picketing?
Yes, I have. Mostly I just talked to them when the picketers were there, but right before the Lisa McPherson Memorial picket in December, I distributed flyers to my neighbors up and down my block, to the churches across the corner of the street from me, to let them know why people might be picketing me, why people might be claiming I was a religious bigot, and if they wanted to get into conversations with Scientologists in my neighborhood, a few questions they might want to ask.
How did your neighbors react to your talking to them?
Mostly apathy. Most of them really don't care about me or Scientology, and they certainly don't care about somebody coming and claiming that I'm a religious bigot, because they don't really have that many dealings with me. Those of my neighbors that I know and have relationships with support me. My landlord supports me. In fact, I called my landlord before the first picket to let him know that it might be happening, and he offered to call the police. And I said, you do what you need to do. It's your property. You don't need to do that on my behalf. But everyone in my neighborhood's been very supportive. Happy birthday, Ron. I just wanted to say thanks so much for saying advocate total freedom. I agree with that wholeheartedly, especially freedom of speech.